Hello, hello, folks. Welcome to the after BAFTAs, I guess the lafters. Let's. This is basically my personal review channel on YouTube. H.Will 757 H.Will win. This is just me basically being here in this area, looking at videos, doing a more reactionary perspective to the situation. Let me get my things adjusted here. Do apologize. Okay. I think we should be good here. Let me see. Do this or what? Let me see. Okay, there we are. Do apologize, folks. Welcome. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard at this point. Y'all forgive me for any technical difficulties at this point. I am trying out different things here and there. I'm trying to figure out if what setup I want to have, if this is where I want to be. And if this is where I want to be, then of course you want to go premium to make sure that you have the best of everything possible when you really want to go serious about this. Not that I'm not serious now, but content is out here. There's topics out here to speak about, and I definitely wanted to speak about this one as it came across because there's a couple of things that are very close to me. One thing you can imagine, obviously, what you see here is this situation is very close. But another thing that you may not think is very close is the sort of disability or like they call it the more abled standpoint, as it were. Okay, so when we talk about that, um, personal experience, I guess you could say, I had a stutter when I was a kid because my brain, as a kid, it fired at such a fast rate, still does. I could have a ton of thoughts, ton of things going on, ton of things that I want to talk about, speak about everything, and I my mouth would struggle to keep up with everything that I wanted to say. I wanted to say this thing and get it out as quickly as I could so that I could get to the next thing that I was thinking about. That's kind of what my situation kind of was until I was put into a special class to deal with my speech, to deal with my speech issue, which was more of a mental issue, I guess you could say. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it anyway. Um, I was in there with people that, that were the stereotype that I even looked at as a stereotypical view of a, special needs person. And I was, it was a positive in itself to be in that because I was able to really get a sense of what the truth is in this situation. And I think that's what helped me. It was beneficial to give me the real truth and what I thought I knew and what I thought I was experiencing and what I thought I knew about, the special needs or the handy capable community. Once I was there and I had to deal with the shame of my own situation and realize that a lot of those kids weren't dealing with that. They weren't like that. They were actually very cool people. They needed people who understood their condition and be able to create an environment that is more peaceful for them, to where they can kind of get a hold of this and move forward as productive adults. That's what you realize as you get older, you know. So that's definitely something that's very close to me. I had to slow my brain down some, focus my brain a little bit more on, one or two things that I could talk about, get through those conversations, and then move to the next thing. You know, my brain is still a very complicated computer that sparks on a lot of different things, holds a lot of information, can retain things. It's very complicated, very complex, you know. And so, as a journalist as well, I'm a person that loves to have a working knowledge of a lot of things. That's why I think journalist is a very wide ranging, if you choose to do it the right way, it can be a very wide ranging, just very adventurous, discovery based profession and industry if you do it right. You have a working knowledge of a lot of different things, be it music, different genres of music, medicine, police work, law enforcement, courtrooms, things like that, psychiatry, psychology, different things, because you have to have a certain semblance of research into that as well. So that's kind of where I kind of cross in both of these situations, having personal experience with being put in a special class, being seen as someone who had certain things. I can also say that I got a little guy around here that had to be that was analyzed. He was checked into because they thought that he may have had indicators that he may have been on the spectrum, and it's not something that I'm afraid of or that I'm ashamed of, because I have a friend and a co-host and content creation on YouTube that is on the spectrum as well. He's someone that I respect a great deal of. He's someone that, along with other things, have given me a great understanding of autism itself, the spectrum itself, and he is someone that I would definitely say he is the biggest source of that information. He's someone that I defer to when it comes to that. He is someone, when I have debates with other people, when it comes to that situation, I defer to him. I bring that information, that argument to him to see what he has to say, because that's the respect that I have for him, that I cannot speak for him, that I don't know more about this than he does. That was when it comes to somebody that can speak on this, I absolutely defer to him. I absolutely let people know that my vim, my vigor, my confidence about what I feel like I know comes directly from, comes directly from, mostly from that guy. But it's also from other things that I've seen, other movies that I've seen, and things like that. And it's also these all the things that I run through the ringer. I run through the scrutiny of someone who has that lived experience, and say, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And let them know how I feel, what I took away from it as a person who does not have that, who does not deal with that every day, and see what he has to say on it. So that said, what we're talking about right now is, of course, the BAFTAs, the LAFTAs. I'm gonna start calling them now. I might have to do some editing on my YouTube page and Rumble when this finally gets posted, and I may have to put hashtag laughter. This was a situation where, where a man with Tourette's, John Davidson, inspiration of the movie I Swear, was there, and is an activist and bringing awareness to, excuse me, Tourette's and that sort of thing there. Let me see if I can move this here. It won't cause any issues. All right, see if that gets me closer, get a little more sound there. But so basically, he was there, front and center, as he's one of the nominees, and Michael B. Jordan comes out, and people know Michael B. Jordan because relevancy, youth and relevancy makes people, it makes people like I'm familiar with Michael B. Jordan, but not familiar with their Orlando and everything like that, because you know they want to act like movie buffs. They want to act like they know this, they know that, they know the nuances of making movies, but they don't know the great ones that are here. Off the top of my head, I can tell you right off the top of my head, because again, lived experience. Crooklyn was one. was where I probably say first saw. I say either around in between. I might have to I might have to exchange those possibly. It might have been Clockers first, then then Crooklyn, or or vice versa. But that's where I got my start with Delroy Lindo, playing a in Crooklyn, playing a well-meaning musician, father, and husband who has to deal with being a being an ambitious, enterprising black man, in this country, in New York, trying to deal with that, trying to move forward as a musician, also running an apartment, also running a building that he rents, that he rents out to tenants and things like that, trying to do all of that while balancing a multitude of children, along with a very poised, assertive, wife that definitely has expectations of her own, and navigating that story and just dealing with being black people in the even just nuances of being black people in the city versus black people in the quote unquote country or in the South, which they use Virginia. I believe they use Virginia as the, what I'm saying, as that that symbol of Southern black people in a way. It's funny, and I don't know. I was born in the '80s, so that really wasn't something that I can really say. Where I grew up at, it really wasn't country. But there you have it. I'm not trying to take up too much time with this. It's just to say that's where I got started with them. Then we have Crooklyn. I mean, then we have excuse me, Clockers, where he plays a I believe he plays in that movie. Oh my God. I believe he plays a cop in that one. I want to say I believe he plays a cop in that. But we could definitely look into that. But he definitely was in there. Gone in 60 Seconds for those people. Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage for those who, might need a little something more in that situation. For those of us who know, if you know, you know, he was also in Malcolm X as well. But for those who need just a little bit more because they're just not sure about, I'm just not sure about their Lindo. I didn't know he was in Sinners, of course. Also, Romeo Must Die with Jet Li. He was also in The Harder They Fall, a black western. He was also in Blade. He was also in The Core, the one with Jet Li again, because again, Jet Li recognized the value. Jet Li recognized the value. He recognized he recognized the solid work that a guy like Delroy Lindo will give you in the role that he needs to give you. He gave you a poised, and Romeo Must Die. He gave you a poised, underworld, a black underworld boss. Is still dealing with being a black underworld boss. Get Shorty, the original thing that preceded that gave inspiration, of course, to the sequel. Be Cool, Ransom with Mel Gibson, The Last Castle with Robert Redford. Excuse me. Oh my God, why am I forgetting the guy's name from The Sopranos? Oh my God, I cannot believe I'm doing that. Point Break. He was in Point Break. He was in Domino with he was even in the Domino movie. I forget why am I forgetting Kira Knightley. Kira Knightley. Bear with me, folks. Broken Arrow. He had a voice in Up, Feeling Minnesota with Cameron Diaz, Keanu Reeves, Soul of the Game, classic. About 16 when that movie came out. I mean, we just keep going the hard way. James Woods, we just keep on going. We can just keep on going if you want to, if you really feel like we need to keep going. So that's who that guy is. And most recently, I believe that clip that there's a clip that they play along with this that seems to be also a number of things that I believe, because I'm a journalist. And the one thing about me as a journalist, again, is that what I was taught by the, by the old guard is that scooping, but that's like the one like scooping. Initially, I learned about scooping the competition, meaning at one point you get a story that's a big story. You want to get it going, get out there, and get it pressed and publicized for people to read before anybody else can get it pushed out there. But nowadays with the internet, things move so quickly. It's hard to move fast enough to really get things out. So now the new way that I've had to kind of repurpose scooping people is speaking on a big topic in a way that other people are not speaking on it. And for you to do that, you got to take time to really see what everybody else is coming with, what everybody else puts out, how they put it out, and then you take that and you say, well, this is what I can offer that may be a little bit different from that. So with that said, I've looked at a lot of different situations here, different. I looked at a lot of different videos. From Yelm Stacy. Shout out to Yelm Stacy. Hype Plus. Shout out to shout out to D'Angelo. Not also the D'Angelo that of course passed away. We definitely missed that guy. Send peaceful journey. Send it up to you, and I'm definitely sure for classic geniuses like yourself, there is a ghetto heaven up there. So I'm definitely confident for that. Um, but this is D'Angelo that is speaking on this as well. But I think what has happened for me, being in the middle of the situation, being sort of the middle, like the constant middle child, I think I'm definitely going to have to get a little bit older before I think I grow out of that. But um, we're constantly being born in this weird in this weird 80s period. We're like the middle kids. We're not Gen Z, but we're not Generation X either. So I'm constantly in the middle of the older wisdom and the youthful evolution, revolution, and you know, rebellion. I'm constantly caught in the middle of these two things. So, where a lot of people was approaching it more on the area of, let's look at it from just the John Davidson standpoint and kind of drop the narrative that he didn't say what he said, because that brings up other conversations of he was unaware of what that word meant. It's just something that he says. That's bringing up another conversation that I don't know if we can have. I just don't. And so what I chose to do before I went my way, because I feel like what they give and what they bring and what they encapsulate here, and I'm speaking about what you see on the screen, double toasted. They're they're an older, what I'm saying, they're older than, what I'm saying, they seem older than me, I would say. You know, and just off of the eye test alone, I'm saying that. But I want to give this to them because I think they tried. I think they encapsulate a lot. They tried to have the best of considering both sides of the situation. They covered a lot of the information that encapsulates this situation. Um, yeah, but I think there's some other things that we're missing, and I don't want to take too much time running over that right now. I at least wanted to give you my perspective as a journalist, as a journalist for one, as a person who has lived experience with kind of being in that realm, whether limitedly or not. I think people make jokes like, oh, like it's in a way like I believe in Portlandia, where they made sort of like they were disabled because they were temporarily going to be in a wheelchair or temporarily had a cast on their, on their leg. that was going to come off. You know, it was going to come off after a while, and it became that sort of situation that put their confidence at an all time high, and put them at odds with the actual disabled community. Fun, you know, ironically enough. So it's not me saying that I dealt with anything that was, but in a way you can say that your neurons are, the way to speak about the neurons and things firing, I can understand where that comes from, because they fire and it's like boom, it's like my brain feels like it could take on any conversation and every conversation all at the same time. And I want to be able to get through that conversation because I'm interested in this conversation. And when I was a kid, I was speaking so fast because I wanted to get through every conversation and speak so fast and get through every single moment that I wanted to get. I wanted to make sure I got every thought out so I could be done with it, and then I can get to the next conversation. And I want, and then after you, when you're trying to keep up with this brain, eventually, as a little kid, the stutter happened, and it was bad. It was really bad because my brain still fires in that way. I still have moments where I might stutter. I still have moments where I will get interested in a conversation and can just flow and flow and flow, and I'll be speaking in a way that people have to tell me to slow down a little bit. Like, you're speaking too fast. I need to be able to process everything you're saying. So I definitely understand a certain nuance to it and a certain thing that I'm dealing with every day. Having to be able to focus my thoughts on maybe one or two particular things and then move forward. Not being able to have every single topic in thought that I want to have. And then I started having to get more into writing things down, not because I'll forget them, but because they'll be buried under a bunch of other thoughts and other fired inspiration and other inspirations that fire in here. They'll be buried under that, and then I have to dig and dig and dig to get back to that and remember what I was thinking about before. It gets difficult sometimes. So, you know, I definitely understand where it's coming from. I definitely understand that, you know, some people can't understand how certain things might work in certain people's brains because they're not dealing with that. I'm with that. But I'm also very logic based in the situation. I'm very logic based. I'll put it to you like this. When we think about this, well, you know what? Because we haven't even quite heard it yet. So I want to be able to give that its chance to be heard before I comment. Actually, let me take a moment before I get too long-winded. Let's just start getting into the video. Okay, let me see. Oh, okay, wrong way. Wrong way. Okay, let's start the video. Forgive me, guys, because like I said, I haven't gone premium yet. I'm still trying things out. And so forgive me. Okay. Please check them out. Please check him out. Didn't realize he was British, by the way. Delroy Lindo, British actor. Didn't realize that. kudos to him, man. Kudos to him for always being, you know, best representation either way. I think we should fellowship more and connect more with the Black British, by the way. Hey, folks, I, simple. This is why I respect them because they're really trying to be careful about. It's amazing how we connect with people from different. I have a co-host that's over in Australia. It's funny. I agree. I definitely agree. Oh, okay, okay, get it. I definitely definitely get it. And let me let me take a moment to say that me myself again live experience. Like first of all, I want you to understand that this is more than just for this particular show and episode. I think like what I want to try to do is overall. I think the one thing that's missing. I think it's great by the way. Let me just again. This is my channel where I want to try to take the moment as an individual in the actual brand to reach out and say, hey, to be like double toasted. I respect you guys. To those to like lead Zaffy, Birdo, Astro Dior, Jay Nolan, just Jay Black, just basically we're going on as I get my listing and let you know the people that I respect. Eugene, Oma, that I watch a lot this morning to reach out and let them know as I react to certain things. First, I mean, the protection agency, like I just want to be able to show those people on this channel because more on when it comes to me, multimedia channel on YouTube and everything like that a lot of us will be routed to. It's more of being a competition at that point. I'm trying to make more original content, pull up things like that. And while the editing, the great editing work is fantastic, you got to keep comedy, things like that. As I get more into content like that I want to do a review and put more dynamic editing into it, I want to do that. But me as a journalist, I kind of want to be able to see out this part of the journalist where you see me in real time. You see me react in real time, which is why I like this aspect of YouTube. I'll be able to do a sort of reaction in a way. They're reacting to something, I'm reacting to their reaction. Because I often heard them speak. And I like the way that they, will try to give, try to basically look at all things that are available on the topic they're discussing. There is someone on the album, and when I was thinking about why they want to get sometimes on what he was saying, what he was showing. But then, once we're done with that, I gotta go to the other side. That's not being shown, but we'll definitely get there. So, but I just want to say that this is sort of, again, as you see, this is me in my best. If I was at the award show, this is what I would be. I would wear something of this nature. This is what you might see me in. Of course, the bow tie probably tied up, a little bit more, but this is more of the after party, or some situation here, but also a view of the future, a view of the present moment that happened. In this incident, this is what triggered this incident. Someone like me, someone who looks like me, in a doorway window, and Michael B. Jordan are there dressed up to the nines, doing what they do, and they're the first ones up, and this happens. And there's other information with that as well. But this is just to show you that in certain moments I made shout out to probably me Canyon, that whole span of content. Shout out to him. I like the way that he makes appliances of his own characters and things like that. And they put in different things like that. I kind of want to bring my own little. As you can see, this is me being in the moment in response to what's going on right now. It's also giving you a view of the future. Give you a little bit of what is becoming an issue right now. In the awards era, with Ryan Coogler, with Michael B. Jordan, these eras of black men that seem to stir up some issues with people. Ryan Coogler is his talent as a director, and what he was able to create centering more around black stories. And have that better conversation, like people aren't doing constantly, like the Northman wasn't a racially centered movie. See, they call it period pieces and things of this nature, set to a certain time or a certain area where it just wouldn't be black people. Okay, well, they create Wakanda in Africa. You know what I'm saying? You have to go way down South Africa for the any white people that, you know what I'm saying, that can try to involve themselves in the situation. So, you know, you see this talent on and on and trying to create this partnership like many other people have had, like with the Robert De Niro's and Martin Scorsese and things of this nature, where he was working with, they have this chemistry, like with Denzel Washington, this like we were trying to create, and things of this nature, and what we were trying to create with maybe like a, what we're trying to create with maybe like a Brad, or maybe trying to create with a, you know, even Rocky Harvey type. He's always around. Oh, it's just Quentin Tarantino was a different sort of that type of thing. A lot of people can be associated in different ways to movies that he created. That's sort of the thing, I guess, when you trust those people are going to keep working as long as he's doing things. You know, so I think that's what you're kind of going to find when you look at a lot of Tarantino's movies. So you have that, you know, Delroy Lindo. Again, people don't, I'm not sure about the, but like I said, but you know, these movies, you know, Sinners, you know, the one, which you know, Romeo was died, which you know, we go in 60 seconds, you know, Broken Arrow, you know, these movies, and Delroy Lindo's doing a lot of those movies because that's kind of solid actor, solid work that he gives you, period. And then you have Michael B. Jordan, the present is some ways still the future, because you know, acting, you can be acting like Delroy Lindo eventually. You know, so you have these men, these black men that are creating, that are showing you the generations that are creating these moments right now. And this is what we have to deal with right now. This is what we have to deal with right now. The struggle with allowing someone like Michael B. Jordan to be a Hollywood lead man and be respected for that. That's what we're dealing with right now. That's what we're having to deal with. Well, let's just try to move this along. I want to give them their time and everything like that to speak on this way, you know, and really let's get through. We can't do the whole 42. I mean, we'll try it. Right. simpler. I don't, I'm not aware of a simpler. Okay. I, I hope you guys saw that. Me standing right here with my right by Michael B. Jordan. I just need you to understand. This is. I don't. Okay. I'm not in Hollywood. I don't make that kind of money. Probably never will. I'm a journalist at heart, so I probably never will make that kind of money. I do apologize, folks. Not sure what's happened here. But let's try to get back when we can here. Do apologize, folks. But while we're waiting, let me see. Do apologize. Not sure what's happening. Trying to get that source, trying to get that settled right now. But while we're waiting, I just wanted to say that yes, of course, that yes, of course, there should be some thought and some thought and nuance given to the fact that it. See, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. Let's see where we are with this right now. But it's hard to explain, folks, um, because you do want to understand where a person is coming from and what they're trying, and what they're trying to overcome. Uh, yeah, we're back. you can't drop over your camera without dropping the situation. Apparently, I don't understand. I don't understand why that is. But I guess let me take a moment right now while I have this moment to put on a. Wait, let me have an avatar. Let me see. Okay, I seem to have options. But while I'm waiting on that, I just want to say that I do understand that there is nuance to this. That, but there becomes a thing of where you have to, the brain does have to be consulted on these things. I'm just being honest. The brain just has to be consulted on these matters because for me, like let's just say my brain workup, and that's the I see. I'm trying to avoid getting there before we get there, but we just might have to get there before we get there. But I'm trying my best to not say a certain thing, but let's just. I'm just. I'm just saying. mm, I'm trying not to get there before I get there. That's. I'm really trying hard, but it does have to come back to a certain logic point that we can't sort of that we can't sort of get away from. We can't sort of as much as we would love to, there's a certain logic point that we're just gonna have to understand that it's going to be present. This it's going to be present, like it or not. When you talk about certain things. Um, for example, I'll go to lived experience while I'm dealing with this right now. Once again, lived experience situation. Okay, where did I learn? Where did I learn the N word? If I'm trying to be, you know, if I'm trying to be fair here and I'm trying to do this the right way, where did I learn that word? And the truth, comes out that I learned it from my parents. I learned it from my environment. I learned it from the people that I grew up around that mentored me in different ways. I learned it from them. And so the thing becomes at that point, what did you learn about it? And that becomes the individual explanation that regardless of what it is that you are dealing with, you should be able to answer that question, especially if that's something of that's a part of what I'm saying, of what you might say, or that's in your inner brain vocabulary. It because especially with someone like me where it's outside, what I'm saying, where I speak it out and everything like that, people might want to know. What I'm saying? People might be curious as to, what I'm saying, as to why I said that. Why do I use that word and things like that? And the truth of the matter is, on my side, is that it was a word that was initially, the hard R was initially set to mean an ignorant person. So that is what, that is part of what, we were dealing with right at the outset. So that was being assigned to us. That name was being assigned to us to describe what they felt about us as a whole. And because they had the leverage and the power to basically keep us kind of boxed in, we couldn't fight against the narrative on that. Time goes by, we now are able to grab the narrative on that and now present it in a way of our own doing, of what we we want to make it in this situation. And so that's it's like an exclusive club, like many clubs we weren't allowed access into, that now we can now restrict access to others. It's just one of those things that you have to deal with. If you don't like it, I understand, but that's the truth. It's simple. I can't put it any other way. I try not to be abrasive with that, but but when you put, but when we're speaking on this situation, that's kind of where we are with it. I don't want to be abrasive. I don't want to be, you know, let me see here. Oh God, come on. Come on. There we go. Guess we're gonna have to deal with this and be okay. All right. I'll be okay with this for right now. So we'll put this on. So now that we're done with that, just let you know. So is that assigned? Good. Let me see. Did we do it? Let me see. Okay, we did. All right. So this is what you guys will be seeing when I am not on screen. But I'm definitely learned a lesson that you got to be on screen in order for your other thing to work. So, all right. All right. Somehow this gums up the works when it comes to, when it comes to you sharing another screen. It kind of gums up the works apparently, no matter what you do. So, just gonna have to deal with that. And anything that I don't want to be shown on screen, I'm just gonna have to prep for that and do what I got to do. So hopefully this comes back quickly. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of that and just kind of let you know that that I think that the brain is wired differently, and you know certain things, like I said, the conversation is brought up here, and I think that it may not always be language, but when you say things, that's language. That like it, what I'm saying. Like again, it's always going to be. Like I said, there's always going to be a lot point when it comes to this. Like it or not, there's always going to be a logic point. don't know if you can hear this or not. Give me some time. Pretty good. You did pretty good on that. Oh God. Well, this is gonna be a little comedy in this, folks. So just okay. And why? The question is why. keep showing that I need to, I keep getting pushed up to do. Like I don't get it, man. It just so it almost kind of shows me that it's not really what I did. It's just it keeps doing this. It's weird. My apologies, folks. Trying to get through it. Maybe I should speed it forward because it's starting to get weird. I don't know why it's getting weird like this. Just ridiculous, folks. But I at least want to while we're here because we'll definitely get there. Maybe I should try to switch over to D'Angelo to kind of to kind of deal with his perspective on it. But they were sort of reaching into it at that point, um, where they were talking about. Excuse me on the. Oh my God, it's been a while since I do that. But what they were speaking about was those again intrusive thoughts, repressed thoughts, like and I don't know how much of a pain this is going to be right now while I'm trying to work my way through this. Um, because I'm trying, but um, but basically, let's just say it like this: how I'm wired, how I'm personally wired. Like the N word is not the repressed thing. Be honest with you. Like if you could say, like, if you would be honest with yourself and do the lie and really critically think and say, you know what? What's the third thought on you? Like the and sometimes you don't understand a certain doing that thing. That's why it gets mentioned. That's why it gets mentioned saying bomb on a plane. Why does that get mentioned? Because that is a big taboo thing that a lot of people would frown on if you were to do that. And it seems that Tourette's hijacks that impulse control to where that thrill to do it, it overrides everything else. And you become that person. You become that person who okay, sorry. But it seems like we're dealing with the that I might have to deal with when it comes to a repressed thought about white. See, and that's the thing, okay? Because of repressed thought about white people, even though I've had white friends for a long time, ever since I was a kid. But because of certain things and certain environments and things that I was taught and taught and things that was said around me growing up, there might be a repressed thought to say, you know, just speaking about unaliving white people. And it becomes a and that's the thing. So if I had Tourette's, that would be something that I could possibly be afraid of. Saying something like saying something like in my head I might not say because the situation might not be that, but the thrill of saying, "I'm gonna shoot all you," you know, it's like those are the things that you thought about saying, but repressed them. But this thrill, this neuron misfiring like this, plays into that, it hijacks that, and then you're saying things that you didn't want to say, that you were trying your best not to say. Trying this again, folks. Trying this again. Okay, we're finally going to get there. Hopefully, things will stay steady while we get through this. Apologize, folks. I'm really liking Restream, so I feel like I am going to go premium. I just got to get myself to a point where I'm pretty sure about that. And I think this may, and I think this may be where I think we may be getting off here soon, and we may have to go over to D'Angelo to really get the real nuances that I want to cover. But I apologize, folks. I may have to make a decision to make things bigger, but I may have to think about making stuff bigger so that you can see certain things like that. Um, but mainly what he was saying in that statement was speaking about how he he was how he felt in his heart overall, how he was applauded and welcome, you know, by people they like to be there, you know. and overall how you be mortified to feel that anyone felt like this ticks, were, were intentional harm and things like that. But see, what again I have to help you understand is that okay, it's like this. A little bit more lived experience. My mother was she very forthcoming when it came to information about like social things, so on and so forth. So when it came to the LGBTQ community, LGBTQIA community, my mother was very forthcoming about that. Kind of the controversy started when I went along with her she went to paper check from a hotel that she worked and one of the ladies still working outside doing more of the I guess landscaping on the outside of the hotel. Um, she looked a little nasty to me. And I was kind of curious about that. And so she kind of informed me about about that community and everything like that. And I think, and honestly, um, like being going into my preteen years into the 90s, um, everything was kind of being, everything was a little bit more unified. People were trying to get along more, at least in the spaces that I was in. And, but, you get around friends and you hang out, and you might say something like, you might not like these shoes, you might see a commercial, and you might say, that's gay. To sort of downgrade that from what you feel like yourself is not gay. So I feel like myself is not gay. To say, because I didn't like that. That was something that was at my preference. So that's kind of gay. And I realized that I realized that, and I'm not saying that because I don't like gay people, so I can attach that to that because I don't like gay people. The point that I'm trying to make about these things is regardless of having a tick, having a certain condition that causes you to say type of things, you have to work out why they're taboo to you, why they're for real, and you're saying those things, and being able to work that out. I know for myself that's saying that saying a particular two-word phrase that speaks about white people and their depths. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that that's no on trying to inflame, inflame, insult racist white people. To say to them, I don't mind if you guys weren't around, but to say that two-word phrase, it still spreads out to people who are white that aren't like them, and you have to work that out and work out whether the real, saying it is bigger than the enraging, the betrayal that they cause by saying it, regardless if you got it or not. You know, it's just something to think about. Like, why are they choosing thoughts? Why are these thoughts intruding? Why is that taboo to you? I know I certain phrases, certain things I might say, I know it's taboo to me. I know why, because it's to me a certain dark thrill to say it, to possibly say it. But, you know, I think that if nothing else, we try to work around what we mean to you. And trying to see if we get anywhere. But I'm just trying to see now. Let me check it out. We still have another at least 15 more minutes in the situation here. Let me see. Okay, so let me see. I skipped a little bit. I thought on this one, but maybe they didn't. I could have sworn, honestly, I could have sworn that there was something that they mentioned about what happened further in the situation that a costume designer on the crew for the movie series that was nominated for great anything, as we all know. Sorry, again. But she had also posted on social media that he had also used this word towards her when she calls staff, apparently. And that also severed like monopoly to this group was also folks. And I just want to take a moment here if I could, because I'm not sure. I'm going to try one more time to see. Is there anything that I missed that they were speaking about where they actually spoke on him saying it, saying it to those other people, but I just don't see it where they are speaking on it. You know, but let me try one more thing before I go into my special information. Let's go to D'Angelo. What I would like to do is go to D'Angelo if I could, and, and look at some of his information. Of course, I want to go from the beginning and give him a little bit of introduction, and then try to see if we can get to some of the information that, excuse me, folks, it is what it is, as they say. But you are seeing this, you are seeing it, you are getting a little bit of a preview of where my perspective is going to come from. But the initial thing that I want to try to get to is D'Angelo, if I can. See. Uh-oh. Amazing. I have to pull it up because it's one a whole like, oh, goodness. And then we get there. Okay. So let's get here. See where we're at. Get on here. Like you. I know. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm gonna give some introduction. Try to see where we can get in on. Let's skip for a little bit, folks. Okay. I appreciate him for this. Let's just say, first of all, I appreciate him for this. He's trying his best. I mean, he could do a better job. Apparently, there was a rumor about Bill. He did a better job. I signed information to them that they didn't do. He gave the information. He was the one who gave the information about the other 13 times it happened. And so I have to give him much credit for that. I have to give him much credit for a while he's trying his best to let people know. You know, don't try to make this an insidious fake thing. And I do want to say that before, you know, at any point before this stream ends, I want to make sure that you understand for me that I'm definitely not making it seem like it's fake. That it's insidious. That it was played out by him. You know, I would even believe the option that he made it upon and got the scenes. Like, just look at everything being played out, folks. You know, just look at this movie that's coming out right now, folks. Think about it for a second. This game that's being played. The phrase is in the movie that I'm seeing. That I'm seeing being pulled up now. What movie is he about to be in right now? My God, what is it called? Let me see. Uh-huh. Okay, Pressure. It's called Pressure, folks. Let's play a quick. No, we're going to do this Hollywood thing, and let's play into the pressure. See how D-Day, where the Allied forces, which, by the way, includes the United States and Great Britain, when they stormed the we stormed the beach of the Nazi occupied France in World War II. They want to drive people back to sort of patriotism. And both here and over across the pond. Because right now public relations on either side, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So here's a movie that's coming out now where Eisenhower is in this tense, collaboration with his British meteorologist to make sure that everything was perfectly, so that they could do the storm that they need. My lost last time. They got it wrong. So, and we need to see this. No, they need to present this because they want to show the UK and the US as heroic, patriotic. They're going against the evil, the real evil. They're out there. They're going after them. They can go after them. This is what they do. So, just understand that when you're thinking about all this, these movies come out, and you wonder like, oh, they're going to keep these pieces going because they're going to prove, they're going to keep trying to prove every time it comes out with Black Panther, with sinners, and really prove that story that's being centered around the Black experience can make so much money. They are on a constant drive to prove that they can do the same thing. So again, we applaud D'Angelo for trying his absolute best to combat the situation as he as best he could. And the things that he truly said to both sides. I do give him much credit for this. Okay. And this is, and he also gives a very, okay, I agree. Okay, okay. And I do want to say this. I do want to say this because we're at the right time to do this right now. Yes, he's right. He he didn't make a decision to do that. But the point that I'm trying to make this whole time is that your dark thoughts that give you the most excitement, the taboo things, the things that you listed as taboo, like for me, the N word is not a taboo thing for me. So to say that in a way, this is the thing that we're going, like, if I were to go up and say, yo, where's my name? Right there. Like, I might be a little bit embarrassed that I let my emotion overcome me, the way I might say that, but it's not about me saying the word. It's about me maybe being a little bit too boisterous, a little bit too much in my and my brother moment to be like, okay, I'm wrong, you like me, you want me right there, and thinking, you know, okay, I don't want to, I don't, my intention is not to rub it in white people's face, because I would be a good friend to my white friends if I did that, you know, to try to amp up, or play up how much I say that it worked, you know, how much I say it when it comes to, when it comes to being around with this rub face, I wouldn't do that either. So, just know that for, for me overall. But, yeah, it's just again, it's being able to work through what the time where they make the decision to say it. Possibly, you're scared to say it because you know what the consequences that come with it are. You know what the looks will be when it comes to that. But why are we not trying to work out? Why is such a taboo? Why does that offer such a thrill for you that you keep it in that area to where it can be hijacked? And that's the thing you say. You know, even with myself and being even with myself and wanting to have the willing to have the daring, the thrill or the adrenaline rush that would give me to say certain things around people. Not because, and I would say because I'm afraid of what will happen. I'm just not. I just don't feel like it's worth taking that on if I'm not willing to stand on it. If I'm just cranking, that's stupid. If I want to stand on it and stand on what comes with that and be able to stand my ground on that, then that's what I'll do. But otherwise, most things like this are not worth me. I need to stand on this. Just saying. But let's move forward on this. We're almost done here. See, here's the other thing. Now, I know you're seeing that. I know you're seeing that right now. But see, there's some very important things to note here. And I wish that I had a little bit. I had my sequences together with video shows because a lot of people show me these videos of these two women. You know, so John Bean and Shay with me. So, um, but anyway, what we have here is you not sure what happened here, folks. I'm gonna keep trying to talk, but this. But again, real quick, I just want to say that why am I just now it's infecting me now? But I just want to say that a couple of other points were important to note. That she didn't know who the other presenter was, Delroy Lindo. And we could attribute that to youth. We could attribute that, but it's a sensitive thing. There were reports being made. There's rumors. There's things being circulated that people are questioning her her blackness or putting her disability over her blackness and things like that. I, I'm only going to say that in the immediacy of the situation, black people have come out to speak on this mainly. And when it came to those with Tourette's, black people are the ones speaking on it. And honestly, I feel that a girl who obviously looks black, looks like a young black woman, but feels like she needed to say that, but she felt like she needed to say that the N word is her, is one of her ticks. It's just kind of, to me, it's kind of odd. It's kind of odd that she felt like she would need to say that. Like that sort of balances out. Because again, once again, like I told you, the use of the N word is not a taboo to me. It's not. And again, see, again, like I've said in many comments before I even did this video, I had to comment on other people's videos. Like, no matter how you spin it, it all comes back to the logic point. The N word, as it were, is not a is not a taboo thing to me. And one would have to ask, why is it a taboo thing to her? You know, we allow youth and relevancy and things like that to kind of dictate who we know and who we don't. Michael B. Jordan is a younger guy. He seems like now and the future. So we're supposed to know Michael B. Jordan. But Delroy Lindo, we're not supposed to know, even though he was in the movie. He was in the movie that Michael B. Jordan was just in. So I would at least say that at the very at best, she's allowing youth and relevant and quote unquote relevancy to play into not knowing Delroy Lindo. At worst, this is someone who plays more into, you know, girls who can play more into alternative and things like that, you know, are able to hang out with more white people than the normal black person. And so to not know Delroy Lindo is sort of like a byproduct of that. A white where a white person would not know Delroy Lindo. The average white person would not know Delroy Lindo. Just saying. And then when you So I feel like those things. So I feel like the fact of that you felt the need to say that I have the N word as my take. It raises another question that kind of relieves what this was. It doesn't relieve what that was for him, and it raises questions for her. Why would the N word be a be a taboo word for you to say? The way you would feel like when Tourette's hits, you say that. I mean, is it because you go the hard R with that? Why is that? If that's the case, why are we doing the why are our intrusive thoughts with the hard R? Just saying, just asking more, more appropriate. So that's kind of where I come out with that. As a black person, the N word is not a taboo thing for me. It's comfortable for me. I'm part of a club. I'll always be part of that club. And but even with us, you have to read into the situation. Like even if I were to be out there in the crowd and I would say, and somebody would come out that ain't like, oh man, not them niggas again. Like, what I'm saying? The energy on that would kind of say, now I'm not saying it in a way like but still it gives it a note that there's a negativity on that, even from me. Certain words that are attached to be more insult, to give us a prescribed response. They can be added on to that. And then like we all know the nuances. But see, we don't know enough about a person that, saying that's white and where they learned it, what, and you have to explain it. Like I would explain it. I as a black man have no problem explaining where I learned it, where it came from, so on and so forth. It's one of those things I had to learn about. So, and I learned about the nuance of it. Why are we using it when it was started here? And I got an education on why that is. And when I thought about it, I had my thoughts. I had my ability and and right to make a choice of whether I wanted to say it, whether I wanted to be a part of saying it or not. And when I thought back on it, everything that was presented and everything that was now on it, I decided, yeah, whenever I want to, it's not something that is just rapid fire all the time, all the time, all the time. But when I want to, I do, and I don't have any guilt or shame in saying it and using it. So let me see. Let me see if I can try here because it's just getting all weird here. But here I go with the again. Anyways, I'm gonna try. I've already been here a couple of hours with this. I just want to. I've already been here a couple of hours with this. I just want to at least show you where I'm going because what I found, what I ended up finding was that there were some white people, at least at this point, white women that were willing to speak on this, and one that connects themselves into that say disabled community as well. And I give her credit. I also want to say maybe I should wait till it gets quieter in case you're hearing all of this crap. Let's see. Respect for respect her wishes and her feelings on really letting people know what her struggles are, where her things are in being autistic. I don't think that I don't think that she owes anyone that. I don't think she's owed anyone anything, and I think that some people will try to be triggering of those things, just to see how she will react, when that stimuli, I'm saying, when she's confronted with that sort of stimuli and things like that. So I just, I respect that. Let me see. Okay. Her name's Brittany Simon, by the way. That's what her name is. I said very smart, very lovely, very lovely, very lovely woman here, for sure. And I think this is a very interesting point that we really need to start looking into, folks. It's like it's like this it's like this thing kind of comes smashing out of nowhere. It kind of comes smashing out of nowhere here, and it like intersects at a moment where tensions are really high when it comes to when it comes to the content that Cooler and Michael Jordan are making the centers and everything like that. That who is truly being seen as a leading man, the future superstar, in this industry and things like that, who's viable, who can carry this and do that. It's a lot in this moment, and I just I just feel what we're going to do this year. I'd be honest with you. We're looking at some other things that just but for someone who I think can really get a little something here. And I apologize. I want to get more in the way of the videos that were being shown from China. They gave enough with her to where they enough with shade. Raising me where you're gonna see that one I didn't hear per se. On the same thing that I per se in doing her video. I don't know if it's true if I see black people. Also, if that's the way that she's balancing it out, I think I would have to, you know, again, background, environment, if he's into your word bank, regardless, to rest or not, if he's into your word bank, and at a certain point, what words mean, or, I don't even say words, I don't know what they mean, because you never know when you might say it in front of, and how they might react to it, and you don't even know the word means. So I really don't think it's a conversation of not really knowing what the word means, as you move forward. I think it's more about, yeah, did you intend to insult or hurt them with that word? But it's like within that comes to a different conversation of why is it happening for me? Why saying this word in the presence of these men present me with a certain thrill? That's the thing that we got to think on more than anything. Seriously speaking. So let's just see what she does. I really want to show you that a lot of people are showing this perspective. So, in respect to those black women with Tourette's, giving their account, doing what they can in the situation, I do respect where they're coming from. On the outset, though, Joel, John L. Bean, this, and what I wish I could have got the right video to show that was that she said that it's the thing that you least want to say. It's not that you really want to say it. It's the thing that you least want to say. That's where I've seen that hijack and make you say that thing. Like someone uses, for example, like double toasted. Maybe they use like saying bomb, like saying apple bomb or bomb on the plane. It's like you don't really want to say it in your normal mind, but there's this special for real excitement that you get that you feel like you get from saying it. And there it comes, and there comes the issue. So even she said, as a black woman, that's the thing that you least want to say. Let me give an example for myself. There's several jobs that I have. Again, I did this before, let me make sure that I say this. But I've did it before. I'll get the practice of this. I'll be honest with. But for example, like working in a sewage, working down in sewage areas and sewage, that's not something that I would ever want to do. That's not even a table for me. Okay, not even a table. But like janitorial, mainly because it's a little bit, it's not a good profession, but it's like, public bathroom, things like that's a bit of a thing. So like that would be low on the list of jobs that I would do. And what that means is I would do the job if it came to that. That came to it. And coming to that means that well, let me stop this one. But anyway, all the other jobs that I would do would have to fall out. I would have the opportunity to go to be able to do. That's what student is opportunity there. And there we have it. So when you have that, like that's not saying again to say so to say the least. So say this is the least. This is the thing I want to say the least. That's the thing you say that you would want to say, but it's the least thing that you would say. But somehow it provides you a dark excitement to be able to say it to someone that would react to it in a way that would be that could be a little tense. It provides an adrenaline rush. The way someone bungee jumping, skydiving, like whatever. It's that danger that some people won't even get hurt or die. But you do it because there's an adrenaline rush there to do it. I mean, I'm just saying. Let's see if we can move forward here. There's nothing to move forward. What you say, okay? message being sent to Kugler, Jordan, and Linda and their team. Hmm. See? Which, I mean, his arrogance was just, it's enraging to me, by the way. But the question is, we charge them ourselves. Yeah, come on. It's really that they're here for me at the same time. Again, it's, that's where I think where we should come in into the situation, honestly. We should use the situation as somewhere we can speak to it, not just emotionally, as black people, but someone who's has some knowledge of it, experience relative to them themselves. I like the way they're coming, but see the black who is arrested. They're coming at it in a way of, like we're the same. And that's where the question comes into play of, you're putting your disability over your blackness. You may have the same disability. I got a broken foot like a white guy does. That doesn't mean we're the same. That doesn't mean we're brothers in this. Doesn't mean we're brothers in life. His life is not going to be the same way. It's just how that goes. So, I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. Truly, truly sorry. I at least wanted to show her, um, and if possible, I wanted to be able to show that surprise witness. But just in case, I want to make sure that I give her a special shout out, to that surprise witness because she definitely had something to speak just in case, just in case, I, because things are so weird right now that I just want to make sure that she even said, like, someone, what if someone had PTSD and someone called me a word? Oh, maybe I go. These names are getting around because, you know, well, while we're doing it, while this is happening, maybe I should take advantage of me. I think more on my feet. Um, she's from Croatia, and okay, and I'm kind of realizing what, I give her even more. I give her, even more credit here. Like I think, for her to really want to speak on this, and and I think it's important, the fact that like, it's your, you can almost say, I guess there's something more UK, but I think it's more like European thing, like everyone, it's like they gravitate to everyone wants to, so it's like it makes everyone look bad. It makes the whole thing, it really just, it really does. So, to have someone from Croatia speaking about this and wanting. Okay. So, some strong takes to this right now, and that's why I respect a person like this, you know, and it's my feeling. Just so you know, I move with this consideration and respect for those in the autism community and those on the spectrum in various ways. I take it to say that, like, their brains are just wired kind of differently. I believe I may have some traits that they just made in a situation where may have just narrowly escaped it. And I'm little guy around here, they just narrowly escaped it. In a way, I, you know what? I'm gonna take a moment for myself on this one. I'm gonna say not saying escape, as if as if it's something he sentenced to. It's just saying that hey, it may have been one or two things, or certain things that may have kept us from being diagnosed as that. And it would be okay either way. I'm there for my little guy every day. I understand him better than most because I know what it's like to have a brain like his. So all of this for me has been a learning experience, been a learning experience for a long time. And when you think about rain and you think about certain things, those things were first taught me. When you realize Astrid from from Fringe, you start looking at Will from him. What sounds like you start looking at this, you start realizing it's not these people are mentally unfunctioning. They're very functioning. Astrid, Raymond, as his real name was Raymond, was the So I have to say Raymond to give you the name of the title of the movie. Nation with the nation was called. Well, yeah, the affect is different. The way that they deal with human, the way they deal with human emotions are a little bit different. The way they process information and the need to make sure that the information is correct and accurate and making sure that that is made. There's all of that there. So I respect that community, well, the overall disability community. You know, I just need to understand that there are differences in everyone's, you know, and I appreciate everyone's understanding of this. I keep going back here. I don't know what this is here. I don't know some updates on the system. I don't know. That is, I don't know, folks. This is interesting irony, isn't it? Isn't it? I'm just saying. Seems interesting to me that they push this commercial. Mom, speaking about all this, mom reviewing all this. This is almost an interesting segue, but I'm gonna put a pin in this. But I'm checking just to see if there's anything else. There we go. Again, again, folks, it's the I don't like you, so I call you a gay slur. I'm saying it's okay not to like us, but to call them that because hmm, didn't realize. Oh, I didn't even realize that was even a conversation being had. Interesting. Hmm. Okay. They're eating the ducks. They're eating the ducks. They're eating pets in suburbs. They're eating the ducks. Woody, we believe that. Give her a lot of. Okay. So I just have a commercial here. Let me see. Give her a lot of credit, by the way, because she's really trying to bring some real balance to this conversation, which I'm very, very glad for. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad for saying that. She's saying a lot of people start to say that at least acknowledging and trying to act like you don't know what that word means and you're just saying it. That that makes it more disingenuous for a lot of people to try to say I don't know what that word means is and I'm just saying it's just like play that way that's just not gonna work out. So I to give the weight to really acknowledge the weight that that word has. When coming from a certain person, I think is the way to deal with that. Laughter. See if we can get it. Let me give you something here. Dark intrusive thoughts. Apparently, those are not. That's not taboo for people. Like, hmm. Well, that's another good question. I'm saying no one's asking these questions here, folks. Here we go. Here we go. And I think her for that. And just to be clear on what she said before, like she's saying, like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, is a real thing, is a real uncontrollable situation that can really get you at the worst times. And what she was saying before, she gave that example earlier, which I feel like I may have skipped over trying to get to that particular point. And now, let's just say, as a person that will say, there's always like things going on, sometimes it's uncontrollable. And maybe that would they actually air for that, or would they give the person, you know, did the person help just keep it dignity by not having something like that broadcast for millions of people possibly see? That's a question that we have to look in that situation. We try to act as if he has Tourette's. He's only doing this because of his Tourette's. So we should view this way. But it's still something that's being said that regardless when it's heard, it's terrible. And you wouldn't want somebody's uncontrollable medical condition to be on display if it can humiliate them. Like she said, like basically losing control of your bowels right there on stage, right there while you're presenting. Have a seizure while right there while you're presenting. You certainly hope that same thing you would not want to show humiliation to that person. That you would not allow someone else to be humiliated by that person's medical condition. Just saying an apology, an apology, and acknowledgement of the weight that word carries, and not try to act as if you don't understand the weight that word carries, will go a long way. I'm so thankful for that surprise witness as well. Excuse me. I apologize here. Give me a moment. Hey, God, that's my problem. Good. So what's going on? What do you know? I apologize about that. It's working out. I would think it would go this way, but it went this way because there's a lot of that. And I wouldn't want to have it in the right way. Brittany, son, I do apologize. Brittany, what's up here? She's correct. Oh my God, all right. But Brittany, son, and that's why I want to thank both of them because perspective, take to the forefront. I wanted to give, also a special, special acknowledgement to the individual on this channel, as well as double toasted in their channel, and doing what they were trying to do on their side. I want to give also a special, special respect to John Bean, as well as Shade, ready with me, for what they were for their contribution, and what they were trying to hold, what we were trying to do with good intention and a good heart. I want to give them their credit as well. I just hope that you understand, how I respond, how I reply to your videos, and how those things can bring up questions. How when it comes back to a certain logic point, I just want you to think about that. Shay, I want you to think about why is the N-word a taboo word for you? Why before doing the video we did not at least try to get the other black person's name that was on that stage for speaking? Why do you feel like you having an N-word taken as part of your Tourette somehow legitimizes John Davidson's N-word take? I need you to answer that. I need you to think about that and possibly in your will, and then once you do well, will you possibly come out and speak on that if you can? John L. Me, I want you to understand that I definitely get what you're talking about. And for both you ladies, I'm glad that you want to do this, but I really don't think it was your responsibility to come from this. I think it was for the white community and the rest community to come from their end and speak on this. Honestly, if John Davidson wasn't, I don't think it's your responsibility. Honestly, I'm glad you did, and we accept what you're saying. We should read. That's what we understand. That the thing that you want to say only means that it's a list of things that you secretly want to say to the person. You got to understand how that correlates. It's important. So I want you to understand that I think everyone's content that I use here to speak on this, I hope that gives you a different perspective than what we put out there. I'm not coming. I'm going to come. Now, it's simpler. It would be easy to come on and bring the fight out. He did it. He wanted to say it, so he said it. And almost a fake. It would have been easy to do that. But that's not why I want to do him. I'm here to say that, like Brittany says, we need to analyze those words that taboo us. Those words that give us our dark adrenaline rush to say. Understand why we're doing it. Understand why we want to do it. Understand why it seems wrong to say. I think that would be a lot of people on the pathway with a better understanding and maybe a better way of managing these things overall. Just something to think about, folks. This is H.Will. H.Will. But it's H.Will. 757 mainframe to the LLC. I'll check the next reaction on this channel, and we're ready to start doing some new things, some original things on the mainframe multimedia channel. So watch out for that when you get on there. Best I could, that was something that was important. Regardless of what it looks like, I think the overall information and presentation is important. So that's what I want to do. Regardless of how low budget makes me look right. I'm just kind of testing things out before I make my decision. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for all for these things to people who watch this. Hopefully at some point. I appreciate you. Have a great one. Hopefully I can figure my way out of here. Let's see. Oh, of course. With the entry. we're out.